It's your man, Dr. Life, in the business of saving lives. First responder, responding to unnatural, artificial, man-made disasters. I'm here, do it five, Sean Hackett. I'm here in Razor Sharp from the heart. Y'all already know what time it is. This home, Razor Sharp from the heart. Bill Hackett, Big Bro, Rue, Big Bro Rue, Big Bro 8. Shout out to Big Bro Baller, Big Bro Man. Damn, shit going on. Shout out to Vince, Razor Sharp South. Even though he ain't there every day, it's always gonna be Razor Sharp South. Vince, always put in too much work out there. You know what I mean? Whether he there daily or not, it's always gonna be Razor Sharp South. Vince, Big Bro, Ja. I see Dahlia over here. You know what I'm saying? Dread back out here. Shout out to Q, cousin Quentin. Everybody who cut from Razor Sharp. But ever since the traumatic brain injury of Sean Hackett, who was here only 13 years, shout out to my son, Damon Jr., Little Damon, whatever y'all want to call him, who was also 13. And these events have been happening in our family. Same thing happened with me with my big cousin Sean on the Mason side when I was 13. Traumatic brain injury. And so because there's something called the breath of life, when God breathes into your nostrils the breath of life and man becomes a living soul. So my cousin Sean Roberson, younger brother to Don Roberson, son of Sandra and Donald Roberson Sr., grandson of Queen Elizabeth Betty Red Mason. That's right, grandson of Queen Elizabeth Betty Red Ruby Mason. Great grandson of the Queen Ethel Brown Mason, the mother of 8, Richard Mason, Ulcie Mason, Harold Mason, and William Jr. Mason. Daughters, Queen Elizabeth Betty Red Ruby Mason, Dolores Mason. No, Aunt Doris is older than Aunt Dolores. My man. I'm about to go up here and see what they doing up here. They doing some construction up top? Yeah. He just told me to go check it out, see what they got going on. He always doing something around here. Aunt Doris Mason, who just passed away at 100 years old in Atlanta, Georgia, last year. Aunt Doris Mason, 100 years old. Aunt Dolores Mason was the first one that we lost. And then my grandma, Aura Lillian Mason. This this my office right here. This our office. This the headquarters right here. Hollywood Grill Studios. This the office right here. It's the office right here. Well, we're gonna be doing everything out of here. Auditions, star searches, wedding parties, everything. Hollywood Pictures, Hollywood Grill Studios. But most importantly, transformation and transfiguration. Years ago, my little brother came down to Orlando, Florida. Years ago, my little brother, Larry Paul, King Larry Paul, King Larry Paul, who been grinding here in Trenton, just like I've been grinding all my life for 30 years to break the cycle. He been grinding with Culture Change and his other businesses and entities. Like I've been grinding with my man E.T. the hip hop preacher and my main man Derek Green and my sister Kim Green, Derek Green's lovely wife. They are our fashion statements. Derek Green, E.T. the hip hop preacher, and his wife Dee Dee Mosley, they are our fashion statements. They are the fashion statement for our wedding party that it was an extension of those kings and queens that I told you have passed away. So the Masons boys, they married the Ganges girls. Those four brothers, Richard Mason, Ulysses Mason, Harold Mason, William Jr. Mason. They married Henrietta Ganges. Uncle Ulysses never married Aunt Joan, but I always connected my Uncle Ulysses Mason and my Aunt Joan Ganges. I always connected them because Uncle Ulysses was always on Pennington Avenue, right at the shop, and Aunt Joan's house was always on Pennington Avenue. And so, as a child coming up, all of the other brothers was married to the Ganges sisters, and so Uncle Ulysses and Aunt Joan was always connected as far as I'm concerned. So Richard married Henrietta. Harold married Gretel Ganges, and Gretel Ganges became Gretel Mason. And Gretel Mason and Harold Mason had two supernatural children, Naeem and Pam. Unfortunately, we buried Pam yesterday. Unfortunately. And Pam had two supernatural sons that raised me, my cousin V and my cousin Fu. And my and my I might as well call him he's technically my cousin, but all of my dad's brothers and sisters is my fathers and mothers. So I'm gonna call him my Uncle Dad, Naeem Mason, has a beautiful daughter as well. And then, of course, V and Fu went on to have their own families. And so our family came together yesterday and honor the life of Foo's mother and V's mother, my auntie mom, Pam, who my grandma affectionately called Pamela. Pamela. Her aunt Aura Leggett is my grandma, and my grandma babysitted all of her brothers and sisters' children. As the youngest sibling, my grandma was the caretaker. So if you ask any of them, my grandma was the caretaker for all of her brothers and sisters. I tried to interrupt. Oh, there we go. So I say all of that to say the Masons and the Ganges and all that I just talked about, that's my dad's side of the family. But I'm here on my mom's side of the family. But my dad's side of the family, they do this too. I'm gonna leave here today and I'm gonna go catch up with Amos Dean over there, taking care of my Aunt Mary, my cousin Peanut, superstar athlete over at Ewing High School, superstar running back. So we known for the fashion statement of beauty, the fashion statement of beauty and image in Trenton, New Jersey. You gotta come through us. Ain't no image in New Jersey, and Trenton, New Jersey is the capital. Trenton, New Jersey, the Europeans and the individuals who crossed the Atlantic Ocean to try and wage war and take from us our promised land, they tried to put their fake capital, Washington, D.C., they tried to put it here in Trenton. And we sent body bags and body bags and body bags back across the ocean. Then they tried to go across the river and put their headquarters in Philadelphia, and we sent body bags and body bags and body bags and body bags. We've been sending body bags back. That's all we do is send body bags back of fake imposters that want to claim a new world. Ain't nothing new, homie. Ain't nothing new, homie. You don't got no laws over here. You don't got no birthright over here. You don't got no covenant with God over here. You don't got no covenant with God. We God's children. You could call yourself a Hebrew. You could call yourself whatever you want. We got body bags. I could tell you every single war where we sent body bags back. 70 years war, body bags. Body bags. American Revolution, body bags. Remember the Alamo? The U.S. border was established in body bags. Mexicans trying to come over here and claim, and then we put a law in place. We put a law in place that shut down, that separated so-called Mexico from the USA, land flowing with milk and honey. We like, yo, this the US. If anybody in the world tries to enslave you or tries to get you to work as a chattel slave, because feudalism came from England. Feudalism came from Europe. Feudalism is a caste system where you're enslaved, where they rank you in a caste. And feudalism, the people who are on the bottom who have no value and the caste system, but they produce everything for the king. So the royals are in the caste on the top, but above the royals are the priesthood or the church or the Roman Catholic Church. They called the Brahmin, men that wear bras. Literally, that's what they call themselves. The Brahmin, men that wear a bra. Yeah, the Indian caste system that they got from England. The top are the priests, and they're men that wear bras. The Brahmin. And under the Brahmin, and of course that ain't our priesthood. So we don't acknowledge none of that garbage. And then under the Brahmin is the class that they call the royals. And the royals, they listen to all of the Brahmin. And then under the royals are the knights that they try to call nobles. They ain't nobles. The knights were the people that the kings used to go and tax the people and cause trauma to the people and force the people into slave labor. And so the bottom caste was called the untouchables. And so wherever the royals assigned you and whatever slave labor that they assigned to you, that's what your family did. It's called feudalism. If the king said you need to work the land and produce this crop, it didn't matter what your ambitions were. It didn't matter what you wanted for your family. It didn't matter what profession you had before that new system was put in place. It didn't matter what your family did. They said, listen, do this or die. It wasn't no traveling nowhere. It wasn't no vacationing nowhere. You simply worked the land. You gave the king 70% of what you had, and you had to live off of 30%, no matter what the crop yielded. No matter how good the crop was, no matter if it was a famine, no matter what, 70% of everything you owned, you had to give to the king. It's called feudalism. That's what the European economy is. Feudalism, slave labor. So when their whole economy trashed, because God sent plagues called the Dark Ages, the bubonic, the Black Death. So their whole economy, their whole life, their whole everything imploded. So the reason that everybody across the Atlantic Ocean, they want you to believe that there's a new world that nobody lived in that we can live in is because they built their world on feudalism, on slave. God said, thou shalt not covet anything that is thy neighbor's. So when you engage in slavery, you're violating the commandments of God. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And you got to do all of those things to take lands and enslave people. You have to break all of you have to be lawless. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thy neighbor's wife. So for you to commit adultery or for you to commit sexual assault or rape or anything, to take anything from anybody is stealing, especially sexually. Because that's spiritual raping, that's spiritual soul theft. And God said, don't you know that your body is the temple of God? He said, every other sin that you do is outside your body. But when you turn sex into a weapon of Catholic mass destruction. So when y'all go do y'all Christmas, it's sex mass, sex mass. Christmas, sex mass. What is a mass? Massacre. What is a mass acre? An acre is when God cursed Cain. He said the blood of Abel cries out from the ground. Catholic mass acre. Catholic sexual mass acre. Black sex mass acre. The blood of the ground cries. So cursed be the ground of all blood spillers, of all thieves. And the worst of the worst is sexual thieves, sexual predators. Baal worship is sexual predation on individuals. Only the strong survive. Survival of the fittest. Only the fittest will be able to defend themselves. Like God said, put on the whole armor of God so that you may be able to withstand the attacks of the dragon, the devil, Satan. And then they wrapped the stories of the Son of God in pagan traditions and narratives called the Iliad and the Odyssey, written by a man named Homer. This is where you get Homer Simpson from on Fox. Homer is a real guy who was a philosopher, studied under Plato and Socrates. He was the sexual bedwench of Plato and Socrates. And he wrote a book with all of the stories that they wrapped in Peter and Paul and Jesus and John the Baptist. And he created a Roman Catholic Church using Homer's skits and plays to the pagan gods of the Olympics. And then they wrapped it in the most popular stories of the time, the Son of God and his disciples and the apostles. And that is what all religious systems, except the Asian and Indian ones, they didn't try and wrap none. They just kept those Greek and Roman gods and they worshiped them, but they created a new language. So the gods have different names. They created a new language called Sanskrit. Indian, Arabs, Asians, Sanskrit. So they changed the names because they changed the language. But the Greeks and Romans, because they were unsuccessful in recruiting the people, they kept the same deities and then they gave them Christian names, names of the apostles. Now it's no longer Apollo. Now it's Peter. And still, y'all letting them get it off. But in Trenton, New Jersey, Beverly Webb Leggett, who married a king named Frank E. Leggett III. And when she, out of high school, married a king named Frank E. Leggett III, that Queen Beverly Webb Leggett, in the wisdom of the king, who said, yo, I'm spiritually rusty. Spiritually, I do not have the ability to guide you to the kingdom. Because my mom and dad left the Seventh-day Adventist church when I was in the 5th grade. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist up into the 5th grade, and then we left the Seventh-day Adventist church. And I ain't been studying. I've been in these streets. We married. We got one child, another child on the way. But they just put up a tent effort. Mac Wilson came and did a tent effort revival at Mount Sinai Seventh-day Adventist Church. Mac Wilson. Now, my mom's maiden name is Wilson. Mac Wilson comes to Mount Sinai. My father knows I got a bride, I got a family, and I was been exposed to some truth, but I can't give it to you. But my Aunt Henrietta Mason and my Aunt Elizabeth Betty Red Mason, They know this word backwards and forwards. Go study with them. And when they broke down Daniel and Revelation to Beverly Webb, the diligence that she put into worship and into study, I ain't seen nobody nowhere study like my mama studied. And when they put her on the right track, she gave it to us. And we stuck to the script. Everything my mama gave me and Terry, we gave our babies and all babies that we've been raising. So now, when the final battle of the ages is going down, can't nobody touch us. Nobody. And we ain't letting nobody lie. We ain't letting nobody tell no lies. Just like my pops put my mom on to Aunt Henrietta and she studied. Then my mom put us on. You don't got nobody that can mess with us. You don't got nobody that could go into the word and do nothing with us. Nobody, nowhere. So y'all can stop talking about the Hebrews. Y'all can stop talking about Israel. Y'all can stop talking about Donald Trump. Y'all can stop talking about the black church. Y'all can stop talking. Y'all can stop talking about Washington, D.C. Y'all can stop talking about liberty. Y'all can stop talking about the U.S. Y'all can stop talking about all of that garbage because none of it mean nothing. Not your Ivy League, not your Liberty Universities, not your Jerry Falwell, your Jimmy Swaggart, not your TD Jakes, not none of y'all imams, not none of y'all Farrakhan's, not none of y'all nowhere, anywhere on the earth have not adjusted y'all narrative in 25 years that we done had the internet. After 2001, 25 years, y'all have not adjusted y'all narrative. Y'all still in the dark ages. We done broke bread with y'all for 30 years. We done broke bread with y'all like my Aunt Henrietta broke bread with my mom. We broke bread. We broke the word down. We promised that we was going to take the hip-hop generation and the communication of true hip-hop, and in the last days we was going to lead our people to the kingdom using our communication tool that only we created and only we own, that King David and Queen Bathsheba did back in the day. So to talk about Kool Herc and them is hip-hop, they ain't hip-hop. The very first person to do hip-hop was Eve when she had her very first child. When those hips popped, God said, be fruitful and multiply. And when those hips popped, she penned the very first song and dance, the Purple Rain dance. Hip-hop. So, we got a No More Trauma tour. I do specifically since my son Sean Hackett received the same traumatic brain injury at the same age that my older cousin Sean Coffee Roberson received a traumatic brain injury. I received the breath of life from my dad's side, from my cousin that lost his life right here in Trenton at the height of the war on drugs, an artificially man-made disaster that we had to endure, took the life of a king. And I received the breath of life. And then down in Florida, in the waters of Florida, where I live, Donald Trump's backyard, in the Bush family's backyard, Jeb Bush been controlling the political system of Florida, manipulating the political system of Florida on behalf of his pops, manipulating the political system in Texas, artificially trying to manipulate and manufacture that they are the head They ain't the head of nothing. Republican, Democrat. You could say Barack Obama. You could say the Bush family. You could say the Clintons. You could say whoever you want, son. I told you we've been sending body bags back. And the word of God told you that the final battle, just like the Son of God got up off the throne and came down with Daniel and the three Hebrew boys, the final battle of the ages in Revelation said God gets up off of the throne. And when people of earth try and turn up the heat every 500 years, they try and do a reversal and go a reset. And around COVID, the fake British king said, yo, it's time for a reset. It's time for he publicly said it's time for a reset. His mama had died. Queen Elizabeth had died. This is the son. His daddy died soon after. He goes to a place called Davos. This is the Economic Forum of Europe. And he says it's time for a reset. Ain't no reset, homie. It's time for the Battle of Armageddon. Washington, D.C. don't exist. And ain't no presidents here. You lost the Civil War. You lost the American Revolution. You lost. You lost. You lied and said wasn't nobody here when Benjamin Franklin in 1751 wrote a book saying everybody here is people of color, the biblical people of color. From Genesis chapter 10, Noah's heirs, all throughout the word of God. The people that sailed the oceans controlled the economy of the world, just like Noah controlled the economy of the world. And Noah's oldest son, Japheth, continued that first fruit blessing, not the Hebrew line. Noah was blessed by God, perfect on earth. And then Noah blessed his firstborn son, Japheth, to continue that family blessing. We are the descendants of the firstborn of Noah, Japheth. And when Jonah had to go as far away from, when Jonah wanted to go as far away from going to Nineveh as possible, he said, where can I go? They said, you know Tarshish. Tarshish is the son of Japheth who controls the economy of the world. And the lands that Tarshish was the port where the ark docked at. But the land was called Arimathea, not America, Arimathea. This is then 600 years before the Son of God was born. There was already a global trade, gold, the good gold of Havilah. It was a global trade, and Jonah tried to purchase a ticket to go to Tarshish, across the Mediterranean Sea, across the Atlantic Ocean to Tarshish. Tarshish is the port, like Puerto Rico, Tarshish. 600 years before the Son of God was born is the prophet Jonah. God did not allow him, because he was a Hebrew. God said the iron will not mix with the clay. No, you can't go to Tarshish. No, you're a Hebrew. No, you can't go to Tarshish. And he spit him out on the bank and made him go where he told him to go. But they documented that there is a port called Tarshish and a land called Arimathea where the global economy comes from to the Hebrews. And when they wrote the King James Bible and when they taught you your school lessons and all of that, they erased all of these nations. They erased all of these stories. And they thought that they could give you a Bible and they could give you churches that could tell you that we are supreme and we know the word of God. And they created new languages that didn't exist so that you would never know where these nations, these kindreds, these tongues, these people are. But because we are those people, you can't erase our history. You can't erase our tongue. You can't give us the names of our cities. So We got the blueprint. We got a hip hop symphony, neighborhood games, where we paying our people to play. They ain't got to go to school. They ain't got to do nothing. All they got to do is show that they the best in the world at what it is they do physically. They marriage covenant, physical health, they financial covenant with God is what determines whether or not you go to the kingdom or not. You have to display a measure of wealth and blessings on earth to get into the heavenly kingdom and the heavenly wedding feast. God said, if you can't flip and double the tangible wealth that he's given each and every one of you, if you can't double it, you get tossed into the flame, the lake of fire. There is a spiritual test to get into the kingdom based off of your marriage, your finances, your physical health of what you did with the physical sanctuary that God gave you, and your spiritual soul if you still can be filled with the Holy Spirit. And if you can't pass all four, the four-dimensional test, you get thrown into the lake of fire. You could go to any of your preachers, any of your teachers. None of them have taught you that when you come 50, the lands of your fathers goes back to. So the children of Tarshish at age of 50, every child of Tarshish, every child in the land of Arimathea that Benjamin Franklin testified and documented that the Europeans, the British, the French, the German, and all of them that came from those nations, they're not from these lands. If you claim Africa, you cannot claim that you are our sons. You are a stranger in our gates. Benjamin Franklin testified. We got the book. And they said, stop bringing people from on the east side of the Atlantic Ocean to the west side of the Atlantic Ocean. Stop. Because the people who live on the west side of the Atlantic Ocean, they are the darkest people on the earth. And if you bring the dark people, you're only going to strengthen their family group. Remember, our people were sailing across the ocean, bringing supplies to their brothers and sisters who lived on the east side of the Atlantic Ocean. So we own all lands. But God put a limitation on the individuals who lost their inheritance, lost their spiritual birthright, lost their spiritual covenant, and got outcast from God like Satan did in heaven. And so God said, y'all the only ones that can't move. Y'all the only ones that can't move. Y'all the only ones are restless vagabonds, the blood spillers of the earth, those who want to covet people's lands and covet people's, you commandment breakers. You commandment breakers. Oh, you like to steal? Oh, you like to enslave people? I'm enslaving you. Oh, you like to kill people? I'm gonna give every 500 years, I'm gonna raise up a deliverer and give them authority to kill you. David had the authority to kill on behalf of the heavenly kingdom and the bloodshed that went into the ground. Ever since in Noah's time, when the individuals in Cain's line, they killed two men and they took women and they started a sexual breeding worship to Satan, where they just artificially had sex with women just to have children and increase their numbers so that they could go to war. Cain's two sons, Tubal Cain and Jubal Cain. Tubal Cain created the very first swords and spears and the ironwork. He was the very first blacksmith. This is where you get the word black from. Blacksmiths. The blacksmiths created swords and spears to use to kill on a mass level, to sacrifice on a mass level. And Tubal Cain became a mass murderer. and the high priest of Satan, the first blacksmith. This is where you get the word black from. Blacksmith, weapons of mass destruction.
I just came to check you out, man. You know I admire you, so I just come to check you out, man.
So, this is where we at. No more trauma. No more trauma.